The brand Alt Fragrances, known for taking very popular fragrances and making duplicate versions of them at a fraction of the price. Now, I'm going to pick at every single thing in this brand to see if it's even worth your time and money. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Alright, so this is the package. Obviously, it didn't come in like this. I just slightly opened it just to make it easier for the camera. Let's see how they packaged it. Again, I've never ordered from this brand before. We'll see. So, they have the standard, bubble wrap bag, and then that's it. It's just the boxes. Okay, I guess that's it. So, as you can see, the packaging not really the greatest. I have one really in like every size that they have. They have their 100 milliliter box. It's just very plain, very standard. They have their 60 milliliter box right here, and their 30 milliliter box. So really it's just plain, simple packaging, nothing special at all. But to be honest with you, I can't really say I expected much packaging. This is a duplicate brand, so they have to cut some cost somewhere. So let me go through the list of the fragrances that I got. I got a very popular fragrance known as Creed Aventus, or their brand's version, Executive Number 26. Then I got everybody's favorite blue fragrance, Dior Sauvage, or also known as Farouche Number 29. Then I got everybody's favorite niche fragrance, Parfums de Marly Layton, or known as Stallion Number 11. And then I got one that I've recently reviewed on the channel, Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille, or their versions, Nicotiana Number 32. So let's go with a quick first impression on all of them. We're going to first go with the Creed Aventus one. I just took them out of the box, so let's see how it is. Executive Number 26. Well, let me just see. Okay, in the air, it smells similar to Creed Aventus. It's got the pineapple and musk that I can smell currently in the air. Pretty solid. Curious to see how it would be in the dry down. Then, let's go with the next one, Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille, or Nicotiana 32. Okay. Oh, wow. That is surprisingly accurate. It smells super similar to Tobacco Vanille in the air. We're going to have to obviously try it on skin in a moment. But so far, I'm liking that. That one smells pretty similar to the original. Then let's check out the Dior Sauvage one, the Farouche Number 29. Let's see how it smells. Whoa, okay. Well, that sprays a lot more than the other ones did. And in the air, whoa. Smells pretty similar to Sauvage. I mean, you get the bergamot, the pepper, kind of got it in my mouth, but Ambroxan's there, kind of smells similar, yeah, to Dior Sauvage, the Prada Luna Rosa Carbon. Definitely curious to see how that one's going to be on skin. And last but not least, we got to go with the last one, Stallion Number 11, the Parfums de Marly one. Let's see how it smells. Well, this one sprays similar to the Dior Sauvage one. I guess the little bottles just don't spray very well, but in the air, this, not looking too good for this one. I mean, it smells like it has a hint of Layton in there, but so far it does not really smell like Layton. We'll get back to you in about a week, so I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright, I'm back. It's been about a week and I've had time to smell these fragrances, test them on my skin, and just see how they perform overall. So now it's time to give you my full breakdown of each of these fragrances. Let's start with the Creed Aventus one. So, the Creed Aventus one, in the beginning, it smells similar to Creed Aventus. It has the musk and the pineapple note that is very prominent in the beginning. That being said, it seems like the more you wear this fragrance, the less it begins to smell like Creed Aventus. To me, it smelled like it's still lacking the woodiness and the smokiness that a lot of dupes of Creed Aventus end up having. This kind of smells a little bit more similar to Mont Blanc Explorer than it smells to Creed Aventus. It's not bad, but as a whole, I wouldn't say it's a exact clone of Creed Aventus. However, the good thing about this one, when it comes to performance on this bad boy, I got about a good 6 to 8 hours of longevity with a moderately strong projection, which is surprising coming from this fragrance. Not only does the Creed Aventus DNA not last for a lot of people, but this fragrance is relatively cheap for the price, so that did surprise me. Speaking of price, you can tell that they had to cut some costs somewhere. Because if you look at the bottle right here, it looks pretty tacky, lame, just boring design. You hold the bottle, and usually you can pick up fragrances by the cap. For some reason, I cannot do that with this one. They also have this weird screw-off cap spray bottle thing, so it just feels cheap when you hold the bottle. So, but I understand. I mean, for the price that they're selling this at, it makes sense that they had to cut some costs somewhere. One thing I do have to point out though is that the atomizer on this fragrance really just does suck. I mean, it's probably the worst atomizer that I've reviewed on this channel, and I'm not exaggerating. It takes about 2 to 3 sprays to be the equivalent of about 1 to 1.5 sprays from some of my other bottles of cologne. Another one that is surprisingly accurate to the real thing is the Dior Sauvage cologne. Now this one kind of smells more like Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette. I get a very prominent bergamot note in here. It smells like it has the ambroxan and the pepper, but the problem is everything in this fragrance seems to be mellowed out except for the bergamot. From my testing of this fragrance, this one seems like it would be perfect for people that love the smell of Dior Sauvage, but that just cannot stand the fact that when you wear it in the heat, sometimes it can be very overbearing. It can start becoming nauseating and just cloying. Yeah, this kind of just defeats that because it's just not as strong. There is one thing I noticed after wearing this fragrance for a little bit though. In the dry down, this fragrance becomes a tad bit heavier because it starts picking up some more of the ambroxan and peppery notes in there. But then it picks up this weird metallic note that actually smells more similar to Prada Luna Rossa Carbon than it smells like Dior Sauvage. I've stated many times before though that Prada Luna Rossa Carbon does already smell like Dior Sauvage, but that one metallic note kind of separates them the most when it comes to the dry down of those two fragrances. And the performance on this one is still pretty good. I mean, 6 to 8 hours of longevity with a moderate projection. Not as strong as the Creed Aventus one, but it is still a moderate projection. One weird thing that I've kind of noticed as well is that the bigger bottles actually have a much better atomizer than the smaller bottles. So the 60 milliliter and the 100 milliliter bottles have way better atomizers than the 30 milliliter bottles. So if you see here, the 30 milliliter one looks like it sprays about like half as much, if not a quarter of as much as the bigger bottles do. So if you do purchase a bigger bottle, you'll have a more even spray and just spray out more. Now let's move on to the one that I actually had the highest hope for when purchasing these fragrances, the Layton cologne. Now this one, sadly though, disappointed me the most. I was really hoping that this one smelled more similar to the real thing, but it just doesn't. It smells like it tried to be Layton and failed. Honestly, it seems like the people read the notes of Layton and then just put it together. They just were hoping for the best. It's missing a lot of the spice that Layton has. It's missing that prominent apple note in the beginning. It just smells more mellow than Layton. And then it's missing the one thing that I think distinguishes Layton from a lot of other fragrances like it, and that is the medicinal background smell in Layton that I actually enjoy. This one's missing that, so it doesn't really, to me, smell like Layton. On top of all of that, this one only has about 5 to 6 hours of longevity with about a light to moderate projection, similar to the newer batches of Layton. To me, it's almost like it's not worth considering buying, but if you do want to smell like something that smells slightly like Layton for a fraction of the price, maybe check this one out. And that leaves us with the last one actually, and that is the Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille Cologne. And this one surprised me the most actually. So first thing that you'll notice is that unlike the executive one, now maybe it's just an inconsistency in the brand, but for me, the bottle, I can actually pick it up by the cap. I could not do that with the executive one, so this one, it just comes off really easy with no effort, while this one takes a little bit more force to come off. But when it comes to the actual smell of this fragrance, that's where it surprised me. This one smells really similar to the real Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. Yeah, it's missing a little bit of the spice. It's missing a little bit of the sweetness. And yeah, it's missing a little bit of the strength. But it's still a solid fragrance nonetheless. And one thing I can say about this one compared to the other ones in this list is that this one stayed true to the smell of Tobacco Vanille throughout the entire time. Even through the dry down, this one smelled very similar to Tom Ford's Tobacco Vanille. The sad thing about this one though is the performance is probably the worst out of all the ones on this list. I had about maybe 5 to 6 hours of longevity, and the projection on this one was very light, it seemed like. Now, even on the skin, it still did not seem like it was projecting as strong as even the Layton one, which is sad. But overall, with this whole brand, I mean, the worst part of it was when I actually ordered them. I forgot to film this and show you guys, but when I opened them out of the box, a lot of them were kind of leaking a little bit, so that annoys me. The packaging overall was not the greatest thing for this fragrances, and I think that's the biggest downside for this brand. The last thing to consider for these fragrances is the price, which I will post on the screen in a moment. But at the end of the day, what is my ratings for these fragrances? Well, let's get into it. For the Aventus Cologne, as a cologne fragrance, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. It's pretty solid in terms of smell, but as a fragrance outside of being a cologne, I would give it a 6 out of 10. This fragrance DNA is just oversaturated. I like it, but again, for me, missing the smokiness just will never make it as good as the original. For the Sauvage one, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It smells really good as a cologne, to be honest with you. And then outside of being a cologne, I would give it a 7 out of 10 because, like I stated, I like this DNA a lot. Even though it's very popular, I like it a lot. So I would give it a 7 out of 10 in terms of being a regular fragrance. For the Layton one, and this one's going to hurt me, as a cologne fragrance, I would give this one a 3 out of 10. It's almost nothing like Layton, except for the fact that they just use the same notes. But as a regular fragrance, I would probably give it a 6.5 out of 10 because it doesn't smell bad, but this wouldn't be my go-to at all. For the Tobacco Vanille one, it's going to get my highest rating of 8 out of 10. For a duplicate fragrance, I love the fact that this one stayed true to the smell of Tobacco Vanille. It didn't have any off notes that made it smell weird or anything, so it deserves an 8 out of 10 in my book. And then for a regular fragrance outside of being a duplicate fragrance, I would have to give it a 7.5 out of 10 because I love the smell of Tobacco Vanille, and everyone should know by now that I am a sucker for spicy oriental fragrances. At the end of the day, what would I rate the Alt Fragrances brand? Well, taking everything into consideration, that being the price, the packaging, the bottle, the smell, the performance, all of that being taken into consideration, I would rate this one a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10 as a brand. All of them smelled pretty similar to what they were trying to accomplish, and even though I hate the bottles and I hate the packaging and that screw top thing, like I stated before, the atomizer suck on the small bottles as well, the juice in these bottles actually made it for them. Surprisingly, they smell really good. But that is my review for the brand of Alt Fragrances. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment down below if you have any questions or any suggestions of videos that I should make. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you guys in the next one.